Welcome to Talkporium, the place where I talk about anything and everything. My name's Denise, and I'm the host of the show. Welcome! Thank you for joining me for this episode of Talkporium. So, the coronavirus is big news these days. As of this recording, the U.S. has had its first patient with the virus pass away. The entire situation is causing a lot of confusion and uncertainty. I decided a little research on the coronavirus might be in order, and so I did some research, and this is what I found out from the CDC website. Coronaviruses are named for the crown-like spikes on their surface. There are four main subgroupings known as alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Now, the human coronavirus is not new. It was first identified in the mid-1960s. That's why if you look on the bottle of Lysol or other cleaning products, you'll see that it says it disinfects for human coronavirus. That's because there's 7 different coronaviruses that infect people. There are 4 common human coronaviruses. They each have names consisting of numbers and letters. They're the 229E, the NL63, the OC43, and the HKU1. Now, how they came up with these names, I don't know. But then there's 3 other human coronaviruses. There's the MERS-CoV. Now, this one causes Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, and you may have heard of this one strictly known as MERS. And then there's the SARS-CoV. This is the one that causes severe acute respiratory syndrome, and it's commonly referred to just as SARS. And now we have the third, and it's called SARS-CoV-2. This is the novel coronavirus that causes coronavirus disease 2019, or the COVID-19. Now, people around the world commonly get infected with the first 4 human coronaviruses that I named, and sometimes coronaviruses that infect animals can evolve and make people sick and become a new coronavirus. That's what we're dealing with right now at the moment. Coronavirus that affects animals that has evolved and has started to make humans sick. Now, where did this strain come from? It's known to have first sickened people in China in December 2019. However, as of the recording of this podcast, nothing about the exact cause of the virus has been confirmed by any scientific research, global public health agency, or an academic expert. Now, early research does suggest that the virus closely resembles a known coronavirus that's harbored in horseshoe bats. It's still not clear if that's the source, and if so, exactly how it moved from the bats to humans. Now, you might be wondering, how does the virus spread? Well, mainly from person to person. Now, we're talking between people who are in close contact, people that are within 6 feet within 6 feet of each other. It also spreads through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. Now, the CDC is saying it's also possible a person may contract it by touching a surface or object which has virus on it, and then touching maybe their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes. Now, you might wonder if someone can spread the virus without being sick. The thought is that people are most contagious when they're at their sickest. So a person that has the coronavirus, when they're as sick as they're going to get with the virus, that's when they're the most contagious. The CDC also says that some spreading of the virus may occur before people show symptoms, but that's not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. Now, how easily does it spread? The short answer is it can vary. The virus which causes the strain of this specific coronavirus seems to spread easily within the community. Now, here's an important thing, the symptoms of the virus. Now, these symptoms are symptoms of a lot of different things. So don't freak out if you have any of these 3 symptoms, because most likely it's not the coronavirus. The symptoms of the coronavirus may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. And those symptoms are fever, cough, and shortness of breath. So if you're experiencing any of those, please make sure to check with your healthcare professional. Now, as far as prevention, currently there's no vaccine. The CDC just recommends to avoid being exposed to the virus. And actions to take to help prevent being exposed and help prevent the spread of the virus, which is the same as all viruses and illnesses out there, is 1, avoid contact with sick people. That's pretty easy, makes sense to me. The second one is to avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, especially if you've been out in public, out to a restaurant, even a doctor's office. One time, this isn't the coronavirus, but one time I actually got a severe case of pink eye or conjunctivitis after visiting my eye care professional, because I actually went and while I was in the waiting room, I was looking at magazines and stuff, and apparently somebody that had been in there before that had pink eye or conjunctivitis must have touched the magazines, and then I touched the magazine and wiped my eyes. Bam! Next day I had a severe case of it. The third thing is to stay home when you're sick. Now, this can be a difficult one because there are people out there, and you know them, work with people like this in the past, where they could be on their deathbed and they're still going to get up and come into the office. Now, part of it is because of employers, but also part of it's because of other people. What I mean by that is, employers are sometimes very stingy on the number of sick days that they give people or give their employees. And there are people that get paid hourly. And so if they call in sick, they don't get paid at all. So because of the limited number of sick days people have, or the fact that they may not get paid if they don't show up to work, there are a lot of people out there that go into work when they really shouldn't. That's something that may have to change out there in the general public, but it's not something that's going to be fixed right away. Other thing that you can do when you're trying to prevent the spread is to cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue and then throw the tissue in the trash. Now, this is a little bit different. I've never heard of this. The big thing that I've heard of is instead of like coughing or sneezing into your hand, you see all the posters and that in doctor's offices and other places where they're telling you to cough or sneeze into your bent arm, sort of into the elbow area. But according to this, that's not the right thing to do. If you feel like you're going to cough or sneeze, you should take a tissue, cover your mouth and nose, cough and sneeze into the tissue, and then throw the tissue in the trash. And then, of course, afterwards, wash your hands. And the reason they're saying that is because if you cough or sneeze into your shirt sleeve or into the crease of your elbow, or you know how the kids do it, they'll have a runny nose or something and they'll wipe it with their sleeve of their shirt. You're actually putting the virus onto your body and your clothing, which then leads it to possibly being transferred onto another surface or to a human being. Another action that you should take is to make sure to clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces using just regular household cleaning sprays and wipes. As far as a face mask, now I've heard a lot of people saying they're going to run out and get face masks and start wearing face masks even though they're not sick, saying, thinking that that's going to stop them from contracting the coronavirus. The CDC actually does not recommend people who are well to wear face masks to protect themselves. Now, their website didn't say why they don't recommend people who are not sick to wear a face mask. It was just their recommendation. Their recommendation is that face masks should only be used by people who show symptoms or healthcare workers or people taking care of someone who is sick. And of course, the last thing that they had on the action list to help avoid spreading this is to wash hands regularly with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. And if soap and water aren't available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer that has at least 60% alcohol listed on the label. Treatment of coronavirus. As of right now, there's no specific antiviral treatment at the moment. People with the virus will receive just supportive care to help relieve the symptoms. So basically, if you've got the virus, they're just going to treat your symptoms. And most importantly, once again, if you think you've been exposed, you should contact your healthcare provider immediately. Now, there's lots of reports of various agencies and groups being on the brink of a cure or vaccine. I'm not sure how accurate or true this is. It may be happening, but I do know that there's lots of panic and concern, and companies and individuals are canceling travel plans. Reports are out there saying folks need to prepare and gather several weeks of food and water and provisions. Now, I'm not saying the virus isn't serious, and I'm not making light of the situation. However, I'm not sure we need to run out and stock up on supplies. The truth is that the flu, which goes around every year, infects more people yearly than the current coronavirus. So, according to a website called Live Science, coronavirus has led to more than 75,000 illnesses and over 2,000 deaths. But when you compare that to the flu, it's a very small amount. The flu, just this year alone, or this flu season, has affected an estimated 26 million people. There's been over 250 hospitalizations for the flu here in the U.S. alone, and over 14,000 deaths from the flu. So the difference is, despite the danger and seriousness of the flu, we know a lot about it and what to expect from it each season. In contrast, since the coronavirus is new, or at least this strand, the COVID-19 is new, very little is known about it. And it means it's like a wild card, and we don't yet know exactly how far it will spread, how many will become affected, or how many deaths it will cause. And this, I believe, is what's causing the panic. So my final thoughts on the coronavirus subject are, do what you can to avoid contracting it, and if you feel you've been exposed, contact your healthcare professional. Wow, that was a serious but important topic. How about we lighten this episode up a little? I understand why things like the coronavirus upset and concern people, but this isn't the first situation like it that has come up. There have been others over the years. Can we agree on one thing? While situations like this are serious, can we agree that some people, not all, but some people go to the extreme? Here's an example of what I'm talking about. After the terror attacks back on September 11, 2001, there were concerns that terrorists might try other attacks using chemical warfare. Like the coronavirus situation, folks started preparing in case of a chemical weapon attack. People were stocking up on supplies. The story that comes to mind is that of a coworker I had at the time. He had just transferred to Atlanta from another state. He was temporarily living in an apartment by himself. His family had stayed behind in their former home, waiting until it sold before moving to Atlanta. Several of us were gathered around talking about the possibility of a chemical attack. The subject of duct tape came up because it was one of the items listed that you should have in case of an attack. Reason being, you could use the duct tape to temporarily seal the leaks around windows and doors to reduce the amount of toxin getting inside. My coworker stunned us all when he stated that he was prepared. He proceeded to tell us that he had gone to Home Depot and purchased several cases of duct tape, along with several extra thick painting drop cloths. You know the ones, the thick plastic sheets you use when painting so paint doesn't get onto the floor. Anyway, he said he had the supplies stored in the cabinet under the bathroom sink. He said if an attack happened while he was at home, his plan was to seal himself inside the bathroom. He would use the duct tape to cover the door, window, and vents in the bathroom with the plastic and seal them up tight so none of the toxin could get in. Now, I give him credit for not only having a plan, but also taking the extra step to buy the supplies. 'Cause face it, a lot of us don't think about a plan, or if we do, we don't go buy supplies for our plan. I admit, I'm the first one to admit, I had no plan in place at that time for a chemical attack, and I have no plan in place now for the coronavirus. But back to my coworker's plan. While in theory that sounded like a good plan, the first thing that came to my mind was, what about oxygen? I mean, a bathroom is usually the smallest room in an apartment. So yes, I mean, I can see where it would be the easiest to seal up, but if no air is getting in, then your supply of oxygen is limited. I remember just shaking my head in disbelief and walking away. I had the image of him sealed in a bathroom and suffocating. Good thing is, he never had to put his plan into action. Talking about action, or lack of action, I should say, dating when you're over 50 can be very challenging. I guess dating at any age can be a challenge. I suppose instead I should say it's different when you're over 50. At least for me, it's different. I think there's several reasons for this. At my age, I am so tired of the games. I'm at an age where I realize that life is short, and I just don't have time to waste on games. I don't have time for lies and manipulation. If you want to date me, you've got to be real. A lot of single folks my age come with baggage. Now, you can have baggage at any age, but lots of the time, when you're my age, you have more baggage, and your baggage is bigger. The bag you come with is no longer a carry-on bag. It's now a bag the size of a trunk you'd use if you were on the Titanic and crossing the ocean. I'm not saying that you shouldn't date somebody because they have baggage. Like I said, everybody's got baggage. What I'm saying, though, is at my age, you know what type of baggage you're willing to accept and what type of baggage you're not. Plus, you can also identify baggage that people have that maybe they don't realize themselves or are maybe trying to cover up and hide. And also, like when you're young, folks aren't always out there dating for the right reasons. My experience is there are a lot of guys out there, and I'm sure there's girls out there as well, that are just strictly looking for sex, or they're looking for someone to take care of them. If that's what you want and that's what you're into, then go for it. You do you. But at my age, I've been around the block several times, and I know what I do and don't want, and I'm less willing to make sacrifices. I would rather be alone than be with somebody that isn't who I'm looking for just so that I can be with somebody. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that nobody's perfect and that you do have to make sacrifices and adjust your expectations. You're not going to be able to check off every single box of your wants and don't wants when it comes to a relationship, but the majority of the boxes should be checked off, and you have to decide which ones you're willing to not check off in order to be in a relationship. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Some folks think since I'm currently unattached that I must be lonely. That's not true. Yes, I am alone. I don't have a significant other, but that doesn't mean that I'm lonely. Being alone, in my opinion, means you're standing on your own 2 feet. You're living life on your own terms. I may be an odd duck in the pond because I enjoy being alone. I enjoy quiet time by myself, having time to do what I want on my own schedule. I'm happy and content. I have friends to hang with when I want and friends I can call if I want to have a conversation with someone. Yes, I do get lonely from time to time. There are times I wish I had someone special to come home to, someone to share my life with other than my friends. Because sometimes they're busy with their own life and I'm stuck wanting to go out or talk and no one is available. My friends tell me I need to go out and date and have fun. The problem with me is I don't consider dating fun. If I had my choice between getting dressed up, going to a nice dinner and a movie with a guy, versus hanging at home alone in my pajamas watching TV, bring on the pajamas and TV. I'm in. I guess it's because I've been out there and seen what's available. I've had more than my share of dating experiences and seen one too many datelines that a guy is going to have to come looking for me, not the other way around. I'm not one of these women who dates just to go out so they can get a free meal. To me, that's just wrong. Anyway, I was out there. I was looking for my special someone and got tired of all the games and decided to take a break. Well, that's only partially true. I threw so many guys over the cliff that the pile got so high they were starting to climb back up, and I was having to run them over before tossing them over the cliff again so they couldn't climb back up. No, don't call the cops. There isn't a real cliff. It's something I started saying when my friends would ask about a guy I was dating, but I'd stopped seeing. I would say, "Oh, him. Well, I decided he wasn't the one and tossed him over the cliff." One time I dated a guy, and it was so boring and predictable. I mean, it was like he had penciled me into a slot he had open on Saturday. Every day, the texts were the same. Good morning. Then around lunch, it'd be, hope you're having a good day. And then good night in the evening. This was every day until, like clockwork, on Saturday, he'd come over so we could go out to dinner. And then all he'd want to do is come back to my place and watch TV until he decided it was time to go home, or I handed him his shoes to give him the hint that, hey, it's time for you to leave now. Over the cliff he went. Then there was this guy I was talking to. We hadn't really started dating. It was just some conversations, until one night he called me up and invited me to come over to his place. You're probably sitting there saying, hey, that's pretty nice. No, his words were, hey, do you want to come over tonight? I need a nurse. Now, it wasn't a case he wanted to role play. He actually wanted me to come over and take care of him. Now, guys, inviting a woman you've just started talking to come over and be your literal nurse is not a turn on. At least not to me. I don't want to have to take care of someone. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm in love with someone and something happens to them, then I would be right there by their side taking care of them no matter what. Or if I had just started dating someone and they got hurt and it was a temporary thing, no problem. But to go into a relationship knowing that the sole purpose that they want you in their life is because they want someone to take care of them, they want a nurse, no thank you. Over the cliff you go. Here's a typical one for you. I started dating this guy and things were going really great. We'd been out on a few dates and both of us had made comments that it was like we'd known each other for years instead of just weeks. Then came the big shocker. All of a sudden he says he's still hurting from his last breakup and he decided he wasn't ready after all for a relationship, and that's relationship in quotes, but didn't want to stop seeing me. I was like, so you want to be friends with benefits? And he was like, well, not exactly. He says, I want something more emotionally involved than friends with benefits, but not a committed relationship. Again, relationship in hand quotes. I was like, WTF? What are you talking about? Over the cliff he went. These are just a few of the guys and experiences I had. Not all of them, just a random sample of a few. But then what happened was the pencil me in on Saturday guy tried to come back around. I guess it was because college football season was over and he needed entertainment on Saturday. I'm not sure. Anyway, I ran him over quickly and then tossed him back over the cliff. That's when I decided the pile of guys over the cliff was so high that they were starting to climb back up and it was time to take a break. I haven't given up on finding someone. I just know what I want and I'm happy and content alone until I find him. So hey, if you know a great guy who wants a best friend, someone they can share the ups and downs of life with while still having a life of their own, send them my way. Well, before I end this episode, I want to give you my 3 random crime stories of the week. So, here's one for you. A woman swipes a stroller from a store, but leaves one of her children behind. Really? First of all, don't take your kids with you when you're about to commit a crime. Or I should say, how about just don't commit a crime altogether? Anyway, here's what happened. So this happened in August. If you're going to make a run for it, don't leave anyone behind. 3 women apparently didn't get that concept in August when they were caught on camera allegedly stealing a baby stroller from a New Jersey store, only to be busted after one of them forgot their child inside the shop. 2 of the women had distracted an employee at the Middletown store when the 3rd woman went to the front and grabbed a stroller. The women left the store, but one of them left behind some precious cargo, her own child. Investigators later arrested at least 2 of the women, and the stolen stroller was returned. Come on, women. Get it together. The second one is a woman driving a toy truck leads police on a slow-speed pursuit. Now, the quickest way to launch a pro wrestling career is to grab a child's motorized toy truck and get pulled over by police, according to the South Carolina woman. So in June, The South Carolina police charged a woman in Walhalla with public intoxication after she allegedly was found cruising down the road in a silver Power Wheels truck not far from her home. We all knew alcohol had to be involved in this one. Police said 25-year-old Megan Holman avoided a DUI charge because her mode of transportation was a toy, not a vehicle. When investigators asked Holman to explain the situation, she said she was riding the toy truck as part of a scavenger hunt and that she wanted to be a professional wrestler like her father, and this was how to do it. I bet her father is very proud of her now. And then my last random crime act for the week is a man allegedly steals from a store and then later goes back and asks for a job application. Now, there are plenty of ways to make your job resume stand out from the others, but this is not one of them. A man who applied for a position at a sporting goods store in Wyoming in April allegedly stole from the business twice on the same day. The unidentified 36-year-old man first bought some items with a rewards card, but didn't pay for a pair of sunglasses and ammunition while he was there. He then returned about 3 hours later, this time to ask for a job application. The man allegedly left the store after the encounter with 2 more pairs of sunglasses. The suspect, whose job application status wasn't clear, was cited for alleged thefts. Police said they recovered the items. I don't know. They say crime doesn't pay. Some of these criminals, you wonder if they skipped the brain line when they were being made. Well, that does it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out our website, talkporium.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. And there's also a YouTube channel, Talkporium. Hope you make the best of the day. Keep doing you.